The following is a production of Frank DeFreitas and the Internet Webzine of Holography.
Hello, everyone. This is Frank DeFreitas, and welcome to another week of HoloTalk for the week of September 27th, 1999. This week, our guest is Sam Goldwasser. This is the Part 2 conclusion of the interview that began last week. And this week, Sam talks about green DPSS lasers. He gives tips for buying used lasers on the web, such as from eBay. Talks a little bit about his home laser lab and also makes comments on diode coherence and different laser lengths on the World Wide Web. So this segment runs around 40 minutes. We're going to get right into it. But first, I just want to give you a reminder about October 6th, which is the first open house here at the studio where you can come in, hear a little bit about holography, see some holograms, and I believe the topic's going to be laser transmission holograms. So if you've never had a chance to see laser transmission holograms, come out to the studio the night of October 6th, 1999. Which is coming up, and should be a nice evening. It starts at 7:30, and in fact, we have a little short segment here that Debbie Lee put together, so we're going to get into that so you can get more information about it. Contact me, let me know if you'd like to come. We've already got a few people signed up, so we hope to see you here too. So here we go. Here's the interview with Sam Goldwasser right after this message.
Would you like to create your own three-dimensional holograms? Well, you can begin today, and Frank DeFreitas can show you how. From introductory guides like his shoebox holography system to developing innovative and affordable new laser systems, along with year-round holography workshop programs, Frank is finding a way to bring the out of reach into the reach of everyone. From September through May, you can attend one of his free evening lecture series at the studio in Allentown, Pennsylvania, which is a quick, non-stop drive from the New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. areas. Offered the first Wednesday of every month, Frank begins the evening at 7:30 with a talk on holography, followed by a tour of the lab and a chance to view holograms in his personal collection. There is no cost to attend a Wednesday evening lecture, but you must call in advance or send an email to make reservations. To reach the studio for more information or to make reservations for the Wednesday evening lecture series, please call toll-free 1-800-458-3525 or send an email from the website. That number again is 1-800-458-3525 to attend a Wednesday evening lecture at the studio. Frank hopes to see you there.
That was a nice entry to your site on the green laser pointer.
Right, there's on the photos page someone, to me, to spend $300 on a pointer and then take it apart, I couldn't see that, but be thankful for people who are willing to experiment like that.
I did that with my first module. I paid $300 and some for it. It was a 10 milliwatt, and it was sitting here and it was just driving me crazy. And I said, I've got to get this apart. But I'll tell you something, they put that epoxy in there. Anyone who's listening to this show, do not. You're just going to waste your time trying to get those things apart.
That's right.
I just about cried.
Fortunately, this laser pointer, I'm not sure exactly what was holding it together totally, but at least it wasn't epoxy.
Yeah, and then it was working individual parts.
Yeah, it was working afterwards. And then I added some other pictures. I don't know what happened, but he had this little nice block of aluminum that he put all the parts back into, but I haven't seen it get powered up, so I don't know what happened after that. But that's an amazing sequence of pictures.
Yeah, I'd love to get one of those on the table. I have a whole box of panchromatic holographic plates here that's sensitive to red, green, and blue.
Right.
And I'd love to...
I don't know how good the beam quality is on them.
Yeah, see, I don't know. And some of them are pulsed, too, right? Or
right.
All of them
are pulsed.
Just some.
I'm not sure if that one was or not.
What's a DPSS stand for?
Diode pumped solid state.
Oh, okay.
So that's all these lasers where you have a massive IR diodes pumping mostly a neodymium YAG or a bandite rod or slab. And then either you get the 10064 nanometers out directly, or then you double it. And I kind of call it DPSS FD for frequency doubled.
Yeah, well, those doubling crystals are pretty expensive, too, aren't they?
All those crystals are pretty expensive.
What's the deal with that? Do you think they're really supposed to be that expensive?
I think it's the volume right now.
Yeah.
They're making those crystals in literally meter size prizes for the National Ignition Facility. That big laser that ostensibly is to study how nuclear bombs, well, both to study the plasma physics of nuclear bombs and to try to do research on inertial confinement fusion power.
Yeah.
We all know that the real reason they're building out lasers is because laser scientists like to play with big lasers.
Mm-hmm.
But that's using these slabs there are literally the final amplifier. That it has something like 184 beam lines.
Oh my goodness.
And each one, the final amplifier is order of half a meter across. With these made of these slabs of frequency doubling crystals. They can make this stuff in big batches. They've recently figured out how to do it. I think it might have been a Russian process that they grow these crystals literally hundreds of pounds, mass crystals.
That's incredible.
So they'll be able to, the price of that stuff will come down, but it's volume right now. It's going to take time.
Yeah, maybe we can get that surplus someday.
There's an interesting guy. There's someone on the net selling neodymium glass rods, surplus probably from the Nova laser or one of the other Livermore lasers, and they look really intriguing. I mean, if you can get yourself a really big flash lamp, he's selling 2 and 3 foot long rods.
Wow, that's incredible.
I don't know if they're good for anything, but he's got all different shaped rods. He probably got for $1 a pound or something. I don't know.
Wow. Well, you just reminded me of something. While I have you on here, you might be able to give a few tips to people who might be tuning in and are looking to get a laser, and they go on to eBay. Now, we see a lot of posts on alt lasers when someone posts on eBay about a 10 milliwatt helium neon laser with power supply for $6.
Well,
what's the story with some of that stuff?
All right, first
send your warnings out.
First of all, the first warning about laser postings on eBay is that I would say probably 75% of the cases, the seller posts the CDRH safety sticker rating of the laser, not the actual power.
Yeah.
This mostly applies to helium neon and argon lasers, but just some of the other ones probably not so much. But for example, something rated 10 milliwatt helium neon laser may actually only put out less than 5 milliwatts.
Yeah.
A 5 milliwatt rated laser may put out 1 milliwatt, 1 to 2 typically. And there is no way with a helium neon laser to boost power.
Yeah.
What you get is what you get.
So if you see something for a 30 milliwatt laser and the laser tube's 4 inches long, you know.
Yeah, if it's 30 milliwatt laser rating and it's 4 inches long, I don't think so. It must be a very special kind of laser. That's the first thing. The second thing, of course, is that the prices on eBay go way higher than the stuff's worth very often. And it's very variable. The same laser on a given day may sell off for $20 or $150.
Yeah.
You're much better off checking around. First of all, do your research. Check around the laser surplus places and find out what they're selling lasers for.
Now, when they sell a laser, I have them here, the cylindrical heads with the power supplies.
Yeah.
There's no shutter. There's no indicator light. There's no delay circuitry, unless there is one in the brick power supply. No on-off switch.
There's.
But all of these things, aren't they required by the CDRH? How can they sell that to the public without it?
It's not clear what's going on. Yeah. I don't know if the CDRH probably just isn't. It's not worth for them to bother about the very small volume that's going on here. But in my opinion, it is violating some regulations.
Yeah.
Some of them have the shutters, some of them have the delay, but you can always disable the delay by cutting that wire on the brick.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing will. I don't want to say that I don't think regulations here. It's such a low volume of sales. I mean, we're talking about half a dozen at most a day. It's not a huge volume, but there really should be some way that people who buy these things are, at least you can make sure they're qualified not to stick the thing in their eye or something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people buy these things don't understand the difference between a 25 milliwatt laser and a laser pointer. And
I bought a 15 milliwatt tube and power supply. My daughter answered the door and signed for it, UPS.
Right.
And this was a while ago.
Right.
And then a little while ago, I had bought a laser pointer when we were doing all these little experiments and stuff. UPS driver brings it and says that she can't sign for it because it's a laser pointer. But before that, she signed for a 15 milliwatt with the power supply, you know.
Well,
so,
what's declared as a laser?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know.
Probably half the time these things are just shipped. I mean, I know whenever I buy this stuff either off eBay or from somebody private, I mean, there's no declaration that it's a laser. It's just UPS or priority mail, something like that. It was interesting when I bought an argon power supply from some guy in Canada, and they were worried. The guy was worried that there'd be a customs problem with it, but there wasn't. Just declared as a power supply.
Yeah.
I was going to say something else about eBay.
I think we were talking mostly about not to get suckered into believing the power.
That's it. The first thing is there's a certain amount of information in the laser fact about some common model lasers and the power. There's also a site on the net that has a search engine that will search its database for common helium neon laser and argon laser model numbers. That you can, maybe it's a 50% chance you'll find the one that you're interested in, but that can then tell you the rated power.
Yeah.
Now, a laser may put out more than its rated power when it's new.
Yes.
It may put out twice its rated power when it's new, but there's really no way on an eBay posting to know how much use it's had, how old it is.
Yeah.
And I think the main thing to keep in mind there is that know what the value, what you place the value to be, what you think the value of what you're bidding on to be, and then stick to your high bid, because there will always be others. They're going to, in fact, with Heenies, they're going to be more and more coming on the market because they're going to be replaced with diodes and DPSS type lasers, and they're just going to be flooding the market. Prices will come down. Yeah. And I've looked at these eBay. I track them daily. I track the eBay lasers. I have a bunch of search strings in the fact that will get you most of the laser equipment on eBay.
I'm going to put a 5 million watt Heenie up there for $7.
Oh, there's one guy had a 1 million watt.
No,
well, I assume that he really had one little M instead of big M, but it was a 4-inch tube. So.
You gotta love this field, and it's going to get even more interesting as time goes on.
Oh, sure.
Sure. I've noticed that with the, since the laser pointers came in, it's a completely new complexion to the whole field.
Absolutely. That's something I did want to bring out about the kind of media hype about the hazards of laser pointers.
Yeah.
It's true that theoretically it's possible you could hurt yourself with a laser pointer if you worked at it. But you're not going to do it across a stadium. You're not going to do it from a casual, accidental beam to the eye, for a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to stare at that thing for seconds or minutes to have any chance of permanent damage.
Yeah.
And it's some of this hype about, you see the headlines, people permanent vision damage to spectators at such and such a sporting event from laser pointer. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I know.
Now, that should be contrasted with laser shows where they're using high power, mostly ion, and nowadays more and more common solid state or other types of lasers where you're talking watts of power. If the show operators don't know what they're doing, or the scanner stops for some reason on an effect that's hitting the audience, yes, you could have serious effects, serious damage there. I mean, those are high power lasers, but laser pointer is limited by law to 5 milliwatts. Most of them come nowhere near that because of the way the power supplies are designed. They have to have a margin. They're not well regulated.
Yeah.
They have to have a margin to assure they don't exceed that 5 milliwatts, or more importantly, from their point of view, that they don't blow the diode. So they're probably more like 2 or 3.
Why is it that you can get I'm assuming that they have like a 5 milliwatt diode in these that are these new 650 nanometer pointers.
Yeah, probably.
Why is it you can buy a pointer with a 650 nanometer diode in there, 5 milliwatt diode, and get that pointer for maybe $7 or $10, but you go onto a regular laser diode supplier, a website or whatever, and you look up a 650 nanometer 5 milliwatt raw diode, or even the module, and you're looking like $139 for it.
For the module, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the diode price is.
Well, the module doesn't have anything more than the laser pointer. It's got the driver circuitry, it's got the collimating lens, and it's got the actual diode.
My feeling, I don't know for sure. My feeling is it's largely a matter of just the volume, manufacturing volume, and the supply and demand.
Yeah.
I think that there's been speculation that the diodes sold to laser pointer manufacturers or don't meet specs somehow, but I'm not sure that's true.
Oh, I saw today 670 nanometers. Like, who gives a crap about that anymore?
Right.
5 milliwatt output for $369.
Probably hasn't been scientific.
Yeah. No, actually it wasn't, but I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Can you believe that?
Well, yeah, I guess I can believe it. I don't know if there's anything special about that diode.
I'll have to send you the link to that. I have to remember, what links got me. Oh, in fact, I know where that is. I'll send that to you in an email, and you got to go check that out. And I think they have another one that's like 650 nanometers. No, it's 635, 5 milliwatt, and it's $600 and some dollars.
That's amazing. I was given a 635 milliwatt laser diode module. I actually ripped it out of a piece of equipment that was being thrown out 2 or 3 years ago.
No, what had a 635 in it?
Yeah, it was actually a company's prototype for a system. This is a system that's used to kind of mark on the patient, put a line on the patient where their
incision.
Not the incision, but used for
bullet
radiation treatment.
Where to shoot them.
Yeah, and they were actually offering to Picker. They sent this prototype to Picker for evaluation, and for whatever reason they never got it back. So when we moved, I ended up with the laser. And it's nice. I mean,
the 635s are really
nice. It's
nice.
Almost teeny color,
yes.
And it's bright, and it's a nice. I can't imagine what that cost originally, but it's a nice laser.
Yeah.
Now 635, it's surprising you don't see more. I mean, mostly what you see are 650 that really are 670 to 660. I mean, the ones that they list. This is another buyer beware.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure how pervasive it is, but I've seen some cases, more than one, where when you buy a laser pointer rated 650, and I measured it, it's actually 657, 658.
Interesting.
Now,
658 is what we're working with the 35 milliwatt. Okay. That's a beautiful red beam. I love that. It's so rich. It's so rich, that 658.
Yeah, when I go to the supermarket, I look at the scanner and say, oh, that's a 670 or that's a Healing Neon. Right now, I'm continuing to plot along and add stuff. I mean, it gets updated daily. In fact, I mean, I'm not always vigilant about changing version numbers, but the LaserFact really does change daily.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I add things as I find out little things here and there. I add information, stick it in. So it continues to grow. I don't know how long it's going to continue realistically. Here's kind of a secret that I usually retain an interest in something for about 6 years.
Oh, I see.
LaserFact in its current form is less than 2 years old, so I think you're safe for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, it evolved from that 18 kilobyte article to what it is today. And in fact, after you emailed me about being on the show, I went and did a word count on it. It's actually 600,000 words of just text right now. I mean, that doesn't include all the millions of bytes of data and the pictures and diagrams.
Mm-hmm.
But just the ASCII is 600,000 words, or 3.8 million characters.
Wow. It's all those NMs in there, and MWs.
That's right. If I did a search for those, that probably comes out to be 50%.
Well, it was great having you on the show finally, and we are pretty close, I guess, to being neighbors, right? I mean, I was surprised to see
Allentown. How far is Allentown from Philly?
Oh, you just up the turnpike,
yeah.
exit 33. I mean, I can be down in Philly in I don't know, 30 or 40 minutes.
Well, yeah,
Good driving time.
Were
you in Philly?
You'd probably be disappointed. I mean, it's not like I have this fabulous lab and everything.
Well, that's the way I feel about this. I'm always apologizing for it. You know, and it's always a mess. I try to clean it up, but it only lasts for about 2 or 3 days before it's back to the way it was. Yeah, so I always apologize when people come in. Some of them, when they look at it, they feel like they may not get out alive.
Well, if you came over now, you'd find that I used to have a dark room of sorts, and silver photography is kind of, well, except for holography, I mean, who does it anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all digital. I mean, I fully sympathize and understand people with their high-quality cameras, and I have a bunch of, you know, I have several good 35-millimeter cameras, but I never get to use them anymore. I mean, for good quality photography, you still can't beat that, but realistically, I haven't done darkroom work in 15 or 20 years, so I cleaned that out. It's got laser stuff and other stuff in it, but if you came over right now, you'd find a Heaney tube with external mirrors I'm trying to get working. Someone sent me.
That would be pretty cool.
Brewster angled window tube with. I built a resonator frame for it and mirror mounts and stuff, and I'm trying to get that working. You'd find a 30-inch long Heaney tube that's a strange one that kind of works, but I can't get as much power out of it as I'd like. And you'd find a really strange tube that has had the central portion of its output coupler mirror blown away.
Wow.
It's gone. Nobody can figure out what happened.
Wow.
I mean, it's just like as though someone went in to the inside, took a little bit of steel wool and just scraped off the coating on the mirror. So it goes right. There's no beam, obviously, and you can see right inside. Nobody can figure out what happened.
Wow.
I mean, it's just an ordinary little tube that apparently came out of a postal scanner somewhere.
Must have been a force field or something.
I told the guy, well, maybe you were aligning your high-power ruby laser and forgot to remove it.
Yeah.
It was the alignment laser when you fired it up. I have no idea what happened.
Maybe one of the aliens from that guy's pyramid webpage walked past it.
That must be it. But they're kind of intriguing possibilities. What can you do with a tube that has a clear window at one end? I mean, it must be something useful to do with that, interferometry or some kind of thing that you can do with that.
But no output beam, though, right?
No output beam. But then the question is the reflectivity of what's left there too high such that you couldn't put an external mirror in?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it probably is, but it's something I might try at some point. But
well, you sound like you've always got something going on there.
Well, yeah, I always have something going on, and I don't know. It keeps me out of trouble at least. And,
yeah, that's how I look at it.
And there's something rewarding about knowing that I have the only site in the world with this extensive amount of information.
Yeah, it's incredible. It really is. I don't think there's any sites like that, period, not just for lasers. But, I mean, if you're a listener, pick a topic. I don't know, automotive repair or...
Well, the repair stuff is also unique. I mean, the consumer repair, that's clearly also, it's in the same league at least.
Yeah.
There are people, I'm sure that there are certain areas I haven't dealt with, like computer repair. I figure there are plenty of people who can do that. I don't need to have major amounts of information on that. But the consumer electronics, you might find a site where any single one of those things they do well, but nobody does them well. At least as many as I'm doing.
Do you work on a little bit of that each night? Sit back with like a cup of coffee or something and just get started? Or what?
No, it's just kind of, when I think of it, when I think of something to add, or I see a posting on a news group and say, hey, well, maybe that should be should be added to the either laser fact or the repair fact. Or, I mean, it used to be that I actually would sit down and write this stuff, but now the repair facts are pretty much in their final form. They're not going to get a lot bigger. I mean, they're pretty much there. I mean, it's just there's only so much I can do. If that's not enough information for people around, they're hopeless.
You can feel the death of the gas laser coming, though, can't you?
Oh, it's been coming for a long time. It's still, however, if you can come up with a repeatable, inexpensive way of producing the same quality beam as the gas laser produces from a diode, then it's out of there. I mean, it's gone. I suspect right now it's still not quite at that point, even though interferometer has an example of it, and there are no doubt numerous other examples of it out there. But it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming. I mean, I don't know if I'd have a memorial service yet. I mean, I think you'll know it's dead when the major laser companies don't sell them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's still true that the companies like Spectra Physics and Uniphase and Coherent and Melis Griot, they still sell gas lasers. I mean, they're not emphasizing them, but they still have, it's still a part of their product line.
What are they manufacturing them for anymore that the solid-state diode laser hasn't taken over? I know they used to be in the supermarket scanners. And
that went away many years ago.
I had a laser disc player that had a Heaney
that
tube.
That went away even longer ago.
Yeah.
I suspect for these long baseline interferometry and other applications like that where you need the coherence length,
mm-hmm.
where they don't have a reliable low-cost replacement in the diode laser arena yet.
What is the typical coherence length of a Heaney? Is it determined upon the length of the lasing cavity?
Yeah, generally the rule of thumb is about the length of the lasing cavity,
mm-hmm.
because the mode spacing is about that. And as you move along the wave, you have to move out of phase by half a wavelength before you're out of coherence length. And the length of the laser cavity is a good rule of thumb.
Why are the diodes so long? I mean, everyone had said the whole reason why no one in holography ever even touched one of those diodes was the fact that they said the coherence length was a millimeter or less.
Right.
And here we're seeing it. The last one that I had set up on the optics table was a beam path difference between the two beams of 14 feet.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible. You have to understand the Heaney coherence length is determined by the number of the modes that are operating simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
In a laser cavity, you have modes that are related by 2L over C. I forgot the equation, but the helium neon laser normally has around 5 to 10 modes operating simultaneously in a given tube. And it's when you get out of phase between waves from those modes that you lose your coherence, and that happens order of half to a length of the tube.
Mm-hmm.
With a diode, it must be the case that there's only one mode running. I mean, there must be only one mode operating. There really can't be any other explanation. And with one mode, then your coherence length is going to be essentially as long as it's going to be affected not by the number of modes different modes operating, but probably by noise effects, difference in short-term jitter between the changes in the wavelength. So I would imagine you'd find one mode operating, and I still don't understand how you're getting those fringes to just sit there stationary if it's not being temperature controlled. But
no, they're dead. I mean,
I'd love to get a hold of
it's so disturbing to see it that you just have to tap on the table to make sure that this thing is still set up right, and you're not seeing something that's wrong, because then they just completely lock. It's almost, I don't know, have you seen the fringe lockers that have been used for the different lasers, where you set up a number of different beams to create a fringe pattern, and then the photo detector gets put in
control
there.
Control the cavity length or something.
Yeah, and
that's what you're doing. You have, first of all, you have a laser where you're guaranteeing only one mode's operating, and you're controlling cavity length to keep that mode exactly where you want it.
Oh.
I mean, if frequency stabilized Heaney lasers basically operate in such a way, they're set up with the etalon inside the cavity so that you only get one mode operating. Then they have a temperature, at least maybe a piezoelectric as well, feedback system such to keep that mode right at either one side or centered or something in the gain curve. So they can be, they can be 14 feet. They can be hundreds of feet.
Mm-hmm.
But a little diode, I mean, that's just incredible.
Now, the etalons, if you... I know that an etalon can be put on, like, one of the old 125s.
Yeah, you can put it inside. You can't
are they very expensive to purchase an etalon to go on a laser?
I imagine.
Yeah.
Anything you buy for a laser is expensive.
Yeah, you're not just... by expensive, I mean, you're not talking like a couple $100. I mean, you're talking like a major investment.
Yeah, although theoretically, what is it? Just a slab of glass or quartz or something? That's very flat and set in there at a precise angle. I mean, in principle, it's not anything that fabulous, but the ones you buy today, actually, the frequency stabilized, they have them inside the tube.
I see.
They're not even external. They're internal mirror tubes. They're inside the tube. there's some means of controlling the cavity length.
And usually the milliwattage output of the frequency are really low, aren't they?
Oh yeah, 1 milliwatt.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not building them for holography. They're building for I guess measurement for the interferometry type measurement systems like the HP Hewlett Packard markets. They have a set of lasers and beam splitters and the electronics that go with it for very precise measurements.
Yeah.
The same thing you need to do if you are laying down tracks on a hard drive these days. When you're preparing a hard drive, you need some way of measuring to within order of wavelength of light to get those tracks in the right place. That's where lasers are used.
Yeah.
Well, we can go on for hours, I guess.
Yes, well, we've got 11 hours and 22 minutes of recording time left.
What, you're filling up your hard drive?
Yeah. Well, Sam, thanks a million. I really enjoyed talking with you, and it was good to be able to finally talk to you after spending so much time over the past few years, on your site. A lot of the information that I got working with the diodes came off of your site in the beginning just to try and get some sort of an idea of what these things were, because they're so finicky.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yes.
We were popping them like popcorn. We tried a lot of different things.
It's interesting. Some people, as I have in the fact that some people say, I hooked the core battery to the laser diode, and there it is, just working great.
Well, we did that, too.
And other people who kind of look at them the wrong way, they deny them.
Yeah, I actually had one running off of a battery.
So that's probably the safest.
No photodiode feedback, no driver, nothing.
If you have a battery and a good resistor, and you know what the current is at all temperatures that's safe, yeah, that'll work fine. But the problem is that the classic mistake is that someone hooks up a laser diode, adjusts the current so that it's near the maximum, turns the power off, goes and gets a cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Come back, it's cooled off.
Oh, I see.
Turn the power on, the optical power's gone up 50%, blast the facets right off the diode.
Yeah. I popped them to the point where the little puff of white smoke came out.
Well, that's extreme.
That's
normally the only way to tell is to go in there with a microscope or to see the beam pattern, what's left of it.
Well, this was in the early days of the experimentation,
right.
So it's...
Will I be able to get schematics and stuff for your driver?
Yeah, I think Sam's going to put
or a link.
whole little thing together.
If you have a stable, web page, and the link is just as good. I don't need the copies.
Yeah. Yeah, that website I've had up since, I think it might have been late 1994 when I put that up for holography.
Like those were the early days.
Nothing like it is now. I think it was Netscape 1.0 was the browser.
Was there even Netscape? Was there Mosaic? I mean, back in the early days, you started out with Mosaic.
Yeah. Because I know the only thing that you could do with a web page was either flush left or you could center things, but there really wasn't anything that you could do outside of putting a picture up, and that's after you had a graphical browser.
In some ways, I wish I kind of long for those old days. I mean, look at people's websites.
Well, don't even get me started on some of these things. Yeah.
I mean, if you read the cover page on my site, it says, this is declared to be a fluff-free zone.
Mm-hmm.
No animated icons, no gyrating, doodads, graphics only if you want them,
and no waiting for a 150K graphic to download only to have it say welcome.
That's right. I mean, to some people, they probably say, oh, that's incredibly boring, but there have been people who've actually emailed me and thanked me for that.
Yeah. I try to keep mine as simple as possible, too. I'm not going to get into all that stuff.
Your site is nice.
I'm not going to get into that.
But some of the manufacturers are the worst. I mean, the big manufacturers.
Yeah, which is surprising. Some of the links don't work and everything.
Oh, the links don't work, and they're the worst. If they change their links, they're the worst. They don't tell you where they went.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just incredible. I guess I just don't have that business mentality, but it seems to me that, if you just take, for example, a laser manufacturer, one of the purposes of that site is to sell lasers to technical people. I mean,
yes.
It's not the management that's buying lasers. I mean, it is really the scientists and engineers who are buying lasers.
Mm-hmm.
And scientists and engineers do not want the fluff. I mean, I think that's a fairly universal. I think I can make that statement fairly safely. The vast majority of scientists and engineers want to just get at the information.
Yeah.
And yet, some of these sites just incredibly have to wait through their graphics, and they're flashing this and that, JavaScript that then bombs.
And then once it does come up, and you see something that's really interesting, you click on it, and that page is under construction.
And some of these big laser companies are like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they have the dead links, and they stay dead for a long time. I mean, I won't name names, but I can point to some sites right now that some important links are very dead.
Yeah, later tonight I'll send you the links to those
diodes.
670 diodes and the prices. Then you just fall over.
Well, it's like this guy on eBay was selling a. I couldn't figure out what kind of diode it was. Laser diode. He claimed the original cost was $380 and quantity 500, and it had the high bid was $5. I don't know. I couldn't find it anywhere, and it looked like a little tiny diode. So.
Did he post on Alt Lasers about that?
I don't think so.
No, because I know there's a guy that's been posting that he's got the 5 milliwatt diodes from, it might be Toshiba.
Oh, let me tell you about that guy.
And it's like, hello, post some information here.
Yeah, let me tell you about that guy. I sent an email like that. I sent an email, said, look, what kind of diodes are these? Are they, you haven't been answering emails. Like, what are these? Are they modules? Are they diodes? Or what's the actual part number? Because I can't find it anywhere. So he wrote back to me and says, well, sorry about that. I'll send you a sample if you send me a self-addressed envelope. I'm still waiting.
Yeah.
And he does that every so often. He posts these weird ads. He has his site is actually decent. I mean, he has a site. I don't understand. I mean, some people, I don't know, he dropped the price recently also from $12.50 to $10 or something. I don't understand how some people, what their mentality is when they post some of these things and expect there to be a stampede of orders or whatever.
Well, right after I announced that little diode system that we put together, someone had posted something saying, has anyone heard anything about the laser system that Frank DeFreitas and Stan Savage made? It looks really good or something like that. I hope it's ready for Christmas '99.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I almost fell out of my chair. I said, now, doesn't that look like me posting under another screen name trying to get a...
Right.
But I had no idea who that was. I honestly don't. So I had to post a response to it, The way I was feeling that weekend, all I wanted to do was sleep until Christmas. I wasn't worried about whether the lasers were getting out.
What are you planning to do with? Are you going to offer the kit? Or?
Yeah, I just printed out all the stuff from CDRH today. That's why I was so curious about how some of these places sell these lasers, because requirements, for the Class 3B is a shutter,
Right. The delay,
indicator light, a key on-off switch with a delay. And I don't have anything on any of my surplus lasers that I've purchased.
Yeah,
like that
I have a feeling this trade in lasers is just kind of under the rug, under the table.
Well, I think we want to do it by the book, and
and
maybe make a little small business out of it, for the two of us.
Sure, if you can put it in a little box with a P switch and go through the CDRH. But then I guess you have to go through the CDRH. Procedure that go through.
Yeah, there's a 35-page application you have to fill out.
Right.
And,
go through.
But I'll tell you, I think they need to rewrite some of that stuff because it's for gas, mostly for gas lasers. Once you open up the housing, how much radiation is the person exposed to? Well, that doesn't even apply. To the little diodes.
Well, not to a diode, but it does apply. Really, it does apply to the DPSS lasers because there's so much IR flux floating around. You're right. They probably have to rewrite it, but I don't think it's totally obsolete.
Yeah, I didn't think about those when you opened them up. You've got the infrared radiation.
And of course, even the diodes, if your optical system doesn't capture everything, there's going to be some of the visible popping around, bouncing back and forth.
Yeah.
But if you put that thing, I guess you put it in a little case with a switch and a shutter.
We're going to put it in there with the shutter and a little indicator light, which holographers do not like because who wants the light on when you've got light-sensitive plates in the room?
What are the typical colors?
Usually a deep green, which the red-sensitive plate doesn't have a lot of sensitivity to in the first place. Right. But I would always take black. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I always used to take black masking tape and cover up the lights anyway, but I don't want any lights going on in the lab.
Sure.
We're seeing about, we're not rich now, fact, I ordered some parts today, and I had to go online to see how much money I had in the account so that it wouldn't bounce when, they took it out of the account.
That's the question I have for you is how do you fund your...
Everything I do is out of pocket. I have no funding whatsoever. I'm just a guy who lives here in Allentown that does holography.
Sounds familiar.
And there are no backers or investment bankers or anything like that.
Right. Yep, but the laser track and the holography.
That's how things start out. I believe Newport, from what I understand, that was two guys that put their whole first catalog together sitting with one of the guy's wives at the dining room table.
Probably true.
With a typewriter.
There's an interesting book you may have read on the history of lasers. It goes from before 1960 till maybe only 1970 or so. But that's a book worth reading. It talks about guys like that exactly, where two guys got together. I don't know, spectrum physics was one of the examples. In the early days, they were just kind of building lasers in their basement to sell to universities and industry because there was just such an insatiable appetite for lasers before the laser companies really got rolling.
Yeah.
I think some of those same lasers appear on eBay from time to time.
eBay.
It's amusing. I have bookmarked my search strings to eBay, and I keep track of it. It's just kind of interesting watching some of these bids and some of the amounts that people are willing to spend. And then you see the same thing pop up on eBay a couple of weeks later, and it doesn't get many, because the guy got it and decided, well, the one person who would buy it bought it, stared at it, cleaned it up, stared at it for a while, and said, well, okay, I've seen that, now I can sell it.
Oh, okay,
and
yeah.
then the next time he doesn't get a fraction of what he paid. My first hologram, it was probably in 1964 or so. I think it was Scientific American.
Oh, okay.
Published a hologram in the centerfold. That's when I took that thing into my high school, and they had this fabulous helium neon laser. It's probably one of these pieces of junk in the scientific or metrologic lasers, but it was a helium neon laser. It was a real laser.
Yeah.
And I stuck a lens on a stand of chemistry, for holding test tubes or something. Stuck a lens to expand the beam, and wow, that hologram looked great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Those are all ones
to get what they were recommending. You need the sun with a pinhole or whatever.
And I recently had a chance to see an ad for a 1 milliwatt helium neon laser from back in the 60s, and it might have been back in 64 or so. And I think it was $3,995. And that was in $64.
Yeah.
1964
right.
dollars.
So that's like $57,600.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think a lot of cars were $3,900 in
1962, we paid $1,700 or $1,800 for a Chevy Bel Air.
There you go. It was twice the price of a Bel Air for a 1 milliwatt helium neon laser. I wish I could find that ad. I don't know if I have the ad here.
That would be amazing. I put that up on my website.
Oh, God. What did I do with that ad? Where did I see it? It's going to drive me nuts now. I've got to find it. It was just incredible. I've got to find it. All right. I'm going to run. I got to pick my daughter up, actually. So, good night.
Good talking to you.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
And good night from HoloTalk. We're going to cut it right out here. Good night.
Thanks.
See you later.